So Kristapiz Porzingis getting traded to the Boston Celtics for Marcus Smart is honestly a pretty good trade. I'll grade it a level A, and here's why. So coming into the NBA 2023 season, the Boston Celtics were favorites to win the NBA title. Prior to last year, they had just made the NBA Finals and lost to the Golden State Warriors in 6 games. But it was their first time in the finals. That young core of Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum together, making it that far. So everyone expected them to come back this season, to come back better, fully healthy, which they did, landing the number 2 seed. But they had that whole incident in the beginning of the offseason with Ime Udoka and the coach and the front office. They had that whole incident. But they still came out here this season and showed up. They got the number 2 seed. They had one of the best records in the NBA. Not the best, because that was for the Denver Nuggets and the Bucks. But they were a top seed, a top heavy 2-seeded Eastern Conference team. So when it came to the postseason, it was a totally different story for the Boston Celtics. In round 1, they faced an Atlanta team that had barely just made it into the playoffs with the play-in tournament. That Atlanta team actually won 2 games against the defending Eastern Conference champ, which was surprising because everyone thought that the Boston Celtics were going to completely sweep this play-in team, but they didn't. But they eventually ended up winning the series in 6 games. They took care of the Hawks in 6 games, which everyone was panicking because they thought they could have gone to 7 games. So they took care of business in round 1. However, in round 2, facing off the first-time MVP on Joel Embiid and the former MVP in James Harden, they won 7 games. Prior to facing the 76ers, the Celtics have dominated the Sixers the last few seasons in the postseason every time they faced. But this year it was different. This year there was something wrong with the Boston Celtics, but they ended up going to 7 games with the Philadelphia 76ers. But Jason Tatum, he played horrible a few of the games in the beginning of the games, but he eventually redeemed himself, dropping a 50-point bomb on Game 7, also winning Game 6 to force a Game 7, which right after he dropped a 50-point bomb on the 76ers, sending home the first-time MVP and the former MVP in James Harden. But then when it came to the Eastern Conference Finals, things got interesting. So coming into the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics faced the Miami Heat once again. Prior, last year, they had faced the Miami Heat in the same round, winning them in Game 7. But this year, the Miami Heat team were coming on fire. The team had just won the number 1 seeded Bucks in the first round, upsetting the Bucks 4-1 in that series. They won a Knicks team that has some solid defense, solid bigs, and now they were back here in the Eastern Conference Finals as the number 8 seed team facing the Boston Celtics. Something that has only been accomplished by the 1999 New York Knicks. And so the first 3 games, the Celtics lost horrible. I think Jason Tatum played pretty bad. The whole team as a whole played pretty bad. Even though in some of the games they had the lead, they just didn't finish. They didn't close it out. The Heat closed them out just like they did to the Bucks series in those games. But fortunate for the Celtics, they actually came back from a 3-0 deficit with Derek White's crazy game winner in Game 6, forcing a Game 7. But once Game 7 came along, Jason Tatum going down with the injury in the first minute, the whole team seemed demoralized. They seemed tired. They seemed like they couldn't win this. And right at the get-go, the Heat came in hot. They came in dominating. Boston couldn't do anything. By the end of the 4th quarter, the Celtics lost by almost 20 points. So now we're in the offseason. There was rumors that either Jaylen Brown was going to leave because he couldn't get paid that big contract he wants, or the Boston Celtics won't be able to afford him. Because if you do pay a lot of money to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, then you wouldn't be able to build around the other pieces. So in my opinion, they have made a pretty smart move acquiring Kristapiz Porzingis, trading away Marcus Smart. I know Marcus Smart was very valuable for the team, especially on these last few seasons. The last few seasons, Marcus Smart has been the part of the core of this franchise with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They have made that the identity of Boston, but I feel like Kristapiz Porzingis could really help Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown a bit more because of how versatile he is and how big he is. He could literally space the floor. He could be in the post scoring. He could play make. You know, he's a top big that could play make, which we have seen now that a lot of teams are going for big. Just look at the Spurs, look at the Denver Nuggets, look at the Bucks, look at the Sixers. If you look at all those teams, they all have starting big centers. And we've seen how centers have dominated the East the last 4 seasons, with Giannis winning MVP and Jokic and now Embiid. So the Boston Celtics actually know what they're doing, acquiring Kristaps Porzingis to help out Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And plus, Kristaps Porzingis just came out of a pretty good season, averaging around 23 points a game, 2.7 assists, 8.4 rebounds, while shooting 38 from beyond the arc, 49 from the field goal, and 85 from the free throw. We still have yet to see him in the postseason, since he hasn't made it with the Wizards. Last time he was in the postseason was with Dallas, and I think he played pretty horrible with Luka Doncic. He was nowhere to be found, but he's getting another opportunity with another contending team, so I feel like he will take advantage of this, knowing damn well he's playing for an organization that is based on winning. Their motto is winning. But overall, I'm really excited to see this team play. A lot of teams, a lot of international players are coming in the league now. We're seeing a lot of teams trying to acquire like a Jokic type of player. We just saw Victor Wembanyama go to the Spurs, which I personally believe he will have a solid career with the Spurs. But Kristaps Porzingis going to the Celtics is huge. It shifts the East. You know, it's still. I believe that the Boston Celtics are probably the number 1 seeded team right now in the East, acquiring Kristaps Porzingis. We still have yet to find out, but we will see this season if they are really about what they say they are with this trade.